Hello everyone, today I'll be talking about my research project. So it's about understanding the relationship between screen addiction and sleep quality in students. Now let's get into it. So let's look at the first few things about this project. So when was this project first started? It was first started in M4 when I was in M4 when they let us decide what project we will do for the next 3 years. And it started because during that time it was the COVID period in which we studied online classes, and I realized that I use my laptop and mobile phone quite a lot. So I wanted, and I felt like it made me stay up later and later every day. Like it got worse from first it was 1 a.m. midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It got worse, and I felt like in the classroom I couldn't like pay attention in class. So that made me start thinking around. So what should I research during this project that would benefit me and other people as well? So I chose this project. And the purpose of this project is to learn more about the screen addiction and the sleep quality and educate myself and also hope to educate others as well. And I would also want to learn more and if we're able to find a cure or how to avoid this. Now, next, let's look at the key terms that will be used during this presentation. So first, the screen addiction. Screen addiction is a group of behaviors that are negative and some negative outcome that happens when we use too much technology during our day, says Catherine Lawrence, MD. And screen times, it's the activities done in front of a screen, such as watching television, working on a computer, and playing video games. And dependence is the state of relying on or needing someone or something for aid, support, or the like. Hot video you. Now let's look at the screen addiction. And it's a rising problem since the technology have advanced further and integrated more into our daily lives. As you can see, everyone uses mobile phone for everything nowadays, like messaging, calling people, and social media. And the statistics say that mobile usage among kids in USA is 10 times higher than it was in 2011, which is really kind of some surprising and not surprising at the same time. As you can see, 10 years ago there wasn't very much like technology then, but now it's everywhere. Everyone have mobile phone and use it every day. And screen addiction is also more harmful than people think, since most people often overlook it by most people often overlook it and think that they don't realize how much time they spend. Like for me as an example, during the online classes and during the COVID times, I would spend like more than 10 hours a day on computer without realizing. And then, yeah, so I think it's really important to look into it more since most people often overlook it. So let's look at the methodology and how I did this research. So it's divided into two parts. First, I would have a literature review or the papers selected were selected, the papers related to the topic with the keywords like screen addiction or internet like that, mobile usage. I would Google them and from the Google Scholar as a source, and I would read up on it before, and also it's compiled together before comparing it with survey results. So I also find similar research project on this topic to use as a reference and also use it to compare with my results that I get. Now the second part is the survey. It is a questionnaire that was made to find out the relationship between screen time, amount of sleep, and quality of sleep. I think that these three factors are the keys to learning more about sleeping and screen addiction. And the target group of this is M4 to M6 students. And I used the Epworth sleepiness scale to find out the quality of sleep from the participants. And basically, this scale is to find out, it's like a scale you rate, and it's given like each activity you do during a day and how you felt during it, and it can briefly tells the state that you are in. And let's see the timeline of this project. This is the first beginning of the project in August 2021, and during April 2022 I did the online research. Until June I did the processing the data, and around February I created the survey, and the August is the summary and presentation that was during the symposium that occurred last year at school. And now on to the results from the survey. So I have 24 participants, and the screen time hours per day, as you can see here, most are at around 50% of the participants are at 7 to 8 hours per day, and 21% at 9 to 10 hours per day, and 4% for 8 to 9 hours per day, and you have 8% for 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7 per day. Now let's see an hour of sleep per day. It's the most at around 5 to 6 per day, and at 50%, and at 17% of all others it's 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 4 to 5. So, and the relationship between this is that most of the people who have a lot of screen time in the 9 to 10 hours per day also have around 5 to 6 hours of sleep per day as well. And the results from 24 participants is that the most common score from the Epworth sleepiness scale is 13 out of 24. And what it tells you that from the Epworth sleepiness scale out of 24, 0 to 7 is it's unlikely that you are abnormally sleepy. 8 to 9, that means that you have an average amount of daytime sleepiness, and 10 to 15 are maybe excessively sleepy, and depending on situation, you may want to consider seeking medical attention. And 16 to 24 is that you are excessively sleepy and should consider seeking medical education. And from the results, it suggests that most of the students here have at around this range, which is excessively sleepy depending on the situation, and you may want to consider seeking medical attention. So the problems and limitations I found with this research is that the sample size, it's harder to interpret because the sample size is very small, only 24. And the results from the questionnaire were most likely identical because of their lifestyle and the circumstance of participants being from Sunkulap in the E-Plus program. Mostly have the same lifestyle, and so they produce similar results to each other. And lastly, the questionnaire made using Google Form is insufficient because I feel that Google Form is more on the quantitative side other than the qualitative side, and I think that other forms such as maybe one-on-one interview, but it would take longer but would produce more accurate results for each participants. Now let's on to the next. Let's look at the similar studies of the sleepiness and screen time. So here is a 2015 research studying the relationship between quality of sleep and addiction to internet among students. And it is conducted in Tabat-e-Khaydariyeh city in Iran, and all 424 participants were college students aged from 19 to 30, and the mean age is around 21. And from the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, PSQI, it was used to assess the sleep quality. And the Kimberley's Internet Addiction Test is used to measure the severity of addiction. So similarly, in my research, I used the screen time function on mobile phone, on Apple, like that. But here they use another internet addiction test. And they found out that excessive use of internet is related to daytime sleepiness and decreased sleep quality. And 32.5% of students were suffering from sleep disorders, and 23.9% of students had high dependence on internet, and 2 had severe dependence. So as you can see here, it's quite similar to results I found. And here's the research paper of the research I mentioned previously here, as you can see here. And other findings that I found during my time researching this is that from mykidvision.org, heavy screen usage can lead to myopia, dry eyes, digital eye strain, and esotropia, which is something you should be very careful about. And to reduce the risk of myopia and preserve eye health, you can do by maintain at least an elbow to wrist distance while using your screen. So while you're using your mobile phone or computer, you should maintain a distance. And you should take a break using your screen every 20 minutes by looking away for 20 seconds. So for further studies to improve this, I would say you can use participants from many different schools, sample from multiple schools to produce different results or different programs, like maybe in the English program, Thai program, like that, to have different lifestyles of people. And I would also increase the participants to collect more data and use other methods of survey to gain more qualitative results, like individual interview, like that, to gain more accurate results or to represent each individual more and better. And also, I would like in the future to examine closely related topics such as the social media and its influence on screen addiction, because as you see here, I think social media it's very influential in everyone, and I think it's the next thing that we should look into after the screen addiction, because I think main cause of it right now is the social media. And I would like to also conduct an experiment to find a device that would help lessen screen addiction, because I think it would be very beneficial to everyone. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Please do it quickly. จิมมี่เป็นมีสีต่ออยู่แล้วนะครับเสียบสีที่เครื่องเลยทำไมยังไม่พูดอีกแล้วไหนเนี่ยเหรอเสียบเข้าไปเสียบไม่พูดคนเลยครับคนใช้ออกมาอันใช้ไหนบ้างครับเดี๋ยวคู่เลยก็คือ2 คนไม่ใช่2 คนคนนึงพูดเนี่ยต้องคิดทั้ง2 อันคือ2 อันโอเคครับล่าถ้าคนไหนรู้ตัวว่ามือคุณจะแกว่งนะคุณเอานิ้วปกเสื้อไปเลยนะไม่ใช่ถือไม้ครับใครพูดก่อนเลยจะพูดก่อนไม่แกว่งนะให้แบบให้อยู่ที่เดิมเฉยๆเอาที่แล้ว2 อันนี้ต่างกันไงไปเสียงก็ออก2 อันนี้ตั้งฟังไม่ได้ยินต้นต่างกันเนี่ยนะ2 อันนี้คนละคนกันไงมันไม่คนเดียวไม่2 อันคนเดียวอ้าว2 อันไม่ตัวอย่างเลยทำไมอ่ะรับสัญญาณอันนึงไม่อันนึงทวิตเตอร์กับไมค์อยากเกิดเลยHello today we will be presenting our IS project English normally the significance of a modern database management system in a large high school a case study in Thailand มันคือคุณถามผมว่าคุณมีปกเสื้อแบบนี้ไม่ได้ใช่ไหมครับมันเสียงมันจะค่อยๆลงนะครับตัวไหนนะครับตัวนี้คู่เลยมันอัด2 เครื่องนะครับเพื่อไปส่งให้นะครับบอกไงว่ามือคนไหนจะแกว่งครับเวลาพูดครับมีไปแล้วคุณจะแกว่งยังไงก็เกินเลยทีนี้ครับไม่ดีแล้วเอาใหม่ไหมเอาใหม่ Okay. Hello teachers, today we will be presenting our IS project, the significance of a modern database management system in a large high school, a case study in Thailand. Okay, so the original MySK was initially launched as a gateway for online education when about 2 or 3 years ago when COVID struck. It did not account for the on-site education that proceeded. Yeah, 4 years ago. Sorry, that preceded it afterwards. And so an idea was proposed to improve and overhaul MySK as a whole. The main objective of MySK is to facilitate the flow of information inside an educational institution or our school. An indicator for that is a triangulation between a user satisfaction survey and a user experience interview and observation, which we conducted later on. To investigate the effectiveness of a data management system compared to existing infrastructure, the indicator for that would be a comparison of site analytics between the original and the new MySK.
Okay, hello, I'm smart number 12 from 605. Now for our methodology of doing this project. Now first we analyze the infrastructure of the whole school, how data are transferred between departments and how it is being processed digitally. Then we develop the system using or we maintain the old system, which later we realize that would not be efficient enough. And next we do experimental procedure, which are we conduct interviews, testing for user, and looking at the site analytics. Now, for the results, we analyzing, we found that when teacher or join the school, when they join, they managed by HR. Then for teachers that government assigned will register at the academics, and school email will be registered by the IT department. Next is the student. When the student register using what is called a SAMAK website, it's a school website that is used for registering for school admission tests. Now, this system will get the student data, and furthermore, data will be included in parent meetings like English name to make the school email. As for the ID, after they join for the first 2 weeks, they have to check their data, and their data will be, after verification, they will be created a student ID, and then the school email will be created for the student. And for subject, if that year is a syllabus revision year, the new subject may be created. For the subject will be in the academic office and then managed by the academic office as well. And for classroom data, it's mostly the same every year. Academic year, new student will be issued a class by the record office, and then data will be sent to the academic office. And for schedule, for panel of teacher will assign schedule for each semester and then send to the academic offices. Now, for in the data structure of the school that we see, there are data scattered everywhere. Each department have their own data. They have their own process and way to manage those data, whether it's online or on paper. Now, as for the website, it is built with PHP, which are outdated system and with a lot of securities that have to be solved. Things like no password management and encryption and SQL injection, for example. Now, for developing a new system, this is one of the design. The old system was deemed unmanageable, and new website is designed and built, and we start the testing of the user and analytics. Okay. For this is the architecture design of the website. Here is a very overall type of the architecture defined. This is the front end, which is what user will see, and then this will talk to the back end, which are where data is managed and delivered to the front end. Now, these will take care of editing data, managing data, and validating data. Maybe you can do this.
Nice. What do you mean wrong way? Certificate number 12 from 604. So one of the problems with the original website is that the sitemap was a bit hard to navigate and everything is everywhere all at once. So we want to resolve that by categorizing the pages into like parent sites, like big groups of pages that are related to each other. So for students, that's what you're seeing now. We have 5 main groups: learn, class, lookup, and news. Learn is the main page where they'll stay, and they can access the subject detail, they can access the schedule, and all that you need in a learning environment. Class is where they'll access information about their own class. For example, the student list, the teachers that they have, and they also get details of those people. Lookup is where they can find information about other people or other classroom, other organizations in the school. So here we can look up other students, look up other teachers, classes, and subjects. News is a place where you can learn about the current going on of the school and also to find school documents, which is what teachers use to communicate. And finally, there's also account, where they can modify their own information and also report issues. Similarly, for teachers, they also have 5 main groups, and they're laid out basically the same, except instead of learn, they teach, because teachers teach. And teachers have more access to more in their documents, like school orders and announcements. We also reworked the UI completely. So here's a look at learn, where you can see the schedule, you can see the glance, which pulls data from the schedule to show what you're currently learning, and also this is what lookup looks like, where you can find other students in the school. Oh, let me do it. Do you want a demo? No demo. Short demo. Okay, we can. How do we exit? Is it mirroring? It's not mirroring. Hello? Oh. How do you move it? Move to active panel. So this is my SK. This is the learn page where you can see the schedule, and the class page where you can see information about your own class, and for example, like attendance information. You can see who came to school today. Jab is not here. Is Jab not here? There's also lookup, where you can. I think that was yesterday. I think yesterday you weren't here. There's also lookup. You can find information in school. There's news, or you can learn about what's going on in the school, and there's account where you can check your information and your contact certificates, things like that. That's a quick demo of MySK. Very quick. Thank you. Where's the mouse? It's not going down. No. Đứng sao đi qua. There it is.
Oh, why? Why is it like this?
Yeah. All right. So I am Tempu number 8 from 604. So next we will talk about how we evaluate how well our new website does. So the few ways that we do this are the site analytics to see like how many people enter or sign up for the site, and also user experiences, whether from observation, user testing, or survey. All right, so this is a site analytics of the first few weeks that we launched the website for the school to use. We can see that at the first few days has the most visitors and to our website, and also this this day is the day that we made an announcement uh, in the activity day in the meeting for the whole school, so we can infer that more users will use our website when there are important events. Next are the pages that user use. So we can see that the most used page is the login, which has the most visitors, and the events is the page that the function that user interact with the most is the uh, oh yeah. So we can see that most people use logins, and the next is also open period details. This gives us information on what features that people use the most. And next are some user experience live testing. This is quite long, so I'll just explain a bit. So we went to talk with a few teachers from groups, different groups such as some of the elderly teachers, some who teach different subjects, to see which part they struggle to figure out, so that we can improve on it in later versions. So this is the user experience observations. So there are issue submissions and also verbal comment from teachers. These are some reports that we got in earlier days. So from Google Form, we can see that many people have struggle logging in. So from this, we have changed the login feature from this username and password into just login with Google. And we can see that after this update, the issue count reduced significantly, almost at zero.
How can we get the joining with joining permission with Google?
Yeah. So let
Because I think this school has nothing to do with Google, or did the school pay something to?
Our school usually support a Google Workspace for education institution. So everybody is issued a Google email at SCI33206 or student.sci33206. Now that email is exclusive to our school, so we can infer that these people are school personnel, like students or teachers. So we use Google provided service, which allow other websites to use Google credentials and login.
So this is a summary of the user testing. So we can see that the earlier versions, logging in is not easy and frictionless for older teachers, so they struggle a lot with login. And there are also a few of unaddressed security concerns regarding the sensitive data, such as personal
phone number and social media that we allow users to enter in the website. There are also possible future proposal which we had already updated at the current version. So from observations, the most issues submitted are login related, which we have fixed by this point, and some data are still incorrect, which this one we also still actively trying to keep it accurate and fix any inaccurate data. The cause of this is just that some data are not up to date because we need to get data from the academic office. Next is the conclusion. I forgot to say, so I am Sadudi number 15 from 604, and I'll just breeze through the conclusion because we've taken quite a bit of time. For the summary of the key arguments, as you saw from the demonstration of the actual demo, the new system accomplishes the original goal of clearly improving many aspects of it. For example, providing helpful data in a more organized manner, and it could assist in the development of data management system in other areas as well. As you could see from the reviews and feedback from our users, you can also see that the newer versions which uses the Google login has much less complaints and much less difficulties in using the website, which means that it needs to be managed a lot less well. Recommendations for further studies. It's suggested that we need to expand the data domain, or actually, is this outdated? Yes. Although this is never mind. It was suggested that we expand the data domain, including the documents data and the room and buildings data, because at that point it was not complete. But at this point, I believe it is. Just documents, all right. And further studies about user experience testings as well. For other institutions, they can use this website as an example or an inspiration to make a system in the same manner, something like that. Now, we would like to end with a quote. When we started, we were looking for what point the old website was, right, and the code is from Alan Walker. We're walking towards the future in comparison to where we were, and so we'd like to ask you where we are now. We would like to ask ourselves where we are now, and I'd say we're very far compared to before. Yeah, thank you. Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next group, please.
ต่อเลยก็ได้ครับไปดิ้งเหรอ
วันนี้ต้องกดนะครับ IS ห้องนี้ต้องกดนะเพื่อนก็อย่ายาวไปนะอย่านานไปนะครับอันใดที่มันไม่เกี่ยวข้องนี้ก็ไม่เป็นต้อง
ผมสั้นนิดเดียวครับอาจารย์
ก็ได้ครับ
สีหน้าอาจารย์ไม่เป็นไรไม่ยาวมากเดี๋ยวใช่เลย
ทุกคนต้องเซ็นหน้าไอไม่งั้นคุณไม่ได้คะแนนครับเช็คเวลาแล้วนะเรา10:20ครับ
เอ้ยตอนนี้เหลือกี่กลุ่มยกมือดิเดือนหน้าใช่มา
ถ้าเหลือไปวันศุกร์โอ้งานฟิสิกส์เราจะทำยังไงต้องอย่างนั้นแล้วหมดไม่งั้นก็ปล่อย IS ไลฟ์ไปถึงวันศุกร์อะแล้วพวกคุณก็ออนไลน์เอาเช่น YouTube หรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ย
วันไม่ขาว
หรือเราจะนัดกันมาพิเศษมาโรงเรียนเรา
สัปดาห์หน้าเรามาสอบอยู่แล้ว
สัป
สัปดาห์หน้าเรามาสอบวันที่การพูดเอา
แล้วคุณทำไง
ถ้าสมมติเราสอบเสร็จเรามาพิเศษอะไรอยู่ครับ
ก็ได้
โอเค
ไม่งั้นก็อัพโหลด YouTube แต่ว่ามันไม่ทำพิเศษเนี่ยคุณจะไปอยู่กองรวมกันแต่หน้า YouTube มาที่ห้องดีกว่าแต่เขาจะถูกใช้หรือเปล่าของเนี่ย
ล็อกเปล่าใครเอามาร์คเกอร์ให้
ขอให้ห้องว่างก็ใช้ได้มีไฟมีแอร์ก็ใช้ได้
ผมเริ่มเลยครับอาจารย์ Okay, good afternoon. Today we are going to be presenting about our IS project, the biometric voting machine. Okay, let's just skip that. Okay, so for the introduction, first I would like to introduce you to some of the problems with conventional voting methods. First is the low speed and efficiency of the voting. Second is the human errors and manipulations, and third is the identification issues. Now, today we'll be presenting our password to this issue and some of its benefits. Okay, so here we show a diagram of the countries in the world which use electronic voting methods, and the one in dark green use them in combination with biometric technology. So now the objectives of our project is to develop a prototype of the biometric voting machine, which helps in verifying the identity of the voter and ballot counting, and to determine the effectiveness, efficiency, and ease of use of the biometric voting machine itself. Now, for our methodology, the project utilized 10 components: the Arduino microcontroller, with an optical fingerprint collector, which will display results onto an LCD screen and receive input from a membrane matrix keypad. And they will be connected using a breadboard with jumper wires and micro switches to control all the buttons, and powered by a power cable and a 9-volt battery. Yes. Okay, now next we'll introduce our flowchart, how the machine functions. Okay. Oh, right. ต้องผูกบอกชื่อไหมครับอาจารย์ Okay, I am T. Kiteopat, number 13, 604.
ถ้าเป็นต้นปีก็จะไปจำชื่อไม่ได้ครับแต่ท้ายปีเนี่ยพบกันมาเป็นปีเราจำได้หมดแล้วว่าคนไหนชื่ออะไร
Hello. So I'm Pashpakin Chilka, number 11. I will be taking the rest of the. I will be taking over the rest of the presentation from here. So here you can see is our flow chart for creating a database. So we'll start the enrollment process by having the student enter their ID into a keypad. It will then run through a check to see if this ID is on the database. So for example, you enter 55555, so 5 digits. The program will then check with the school's database to see the student's ID. If it doesn't exist, then it will display an error and prompt the user to enter it again. But if it is valid, the user will be prompted to scan the fingerprints. the fingerprint would then be stored along with the student ID, and that would be the enrollment process. Now, obviously, there would be some human intervention here to see if the fingerprint is clear or not, but mostly it will be done by machine.
What I noticed is that your work seems to be quite similar to the forum group.
It's not exactly, but there's a possibility to integrate both projects together. Oh, that's the database. Okay, so here's the working of the entire machine, of one machine, the biometric voting machine. One moment. No, okay. Okay, so here we will have the student. So let's say it's a election period. So a new student council is about to be elected. So the voting would begin. Now these would be within a time frame. So between, let's say, 9 o'clock to 4 p.m. Excuse me. So the student would then enter the booth. They would then key in their student ID. It will go through the same check again, seeing if the ID is valid or not. If it is, then it will check another check. If the ID has already used their voting rights. If the ID has already been used, the ballot will be locked. However, if it hasn't, the user would then be prompted to scan their fingerprints. And if the fingerprint match, more screen here. They will be prompted to enter the voting phrase. If it doesn't, it would be the user would then be prompted again to scan their fingerprints. Or if it's, let's say, it failed 3 times, it might lock. The system will lock itself. So next.
You are locked in your flow chart. It's difficult to read. The text inside is box.
I believe the original image was quite small, so.
The original image was, I think, made in a different program, and we imported it into Canva. And yeah. So next up is the voting page. I can't see. Great. So then, on the machine, the voting switch will be then turned on. So basically, it is ready to accept the voters' input on which party they would like to vote for. The user would then vote here, and the voting would be registered. The voter's ID would then be updated. The status would be updated. So this ID has already used their voting rights. Now it would also go through a final check. So as you would recall, I have mentioned that there would be a voting period from around 9 to 4 p.m. If the voting period hasn't ended, it would go into the same loop again and accept the next voter. But if the voting period has ended, the switch will be turned off, so you can't vote, and the ballot will begin counting the votes. Now, obviously, there's a bit of a concern on privacy here, as to will it show the people that this guy voted for this party, etc. This will be done anonymously. No one would know. The machine would only collect the votes. And then the voting, yeah, right. Okay, then the voting result would be displayed, and that would be the end of the entire run. This is the post-voting period. Okay, so testing. As you would recall in our objective, we aim to test if it's more efficient with these traditional voting methods. So this test is designed to find the efficiency of the machine. So efficiency test, it would compare the time between electronic and traditional method, and a user survey will be conducted within the test subject. So we would have one people do the standard test, the standard voting, excuse me. So we would have someone walk to the register table and going to cross out the party in the ballot, and then they would go to the drop box and put their votes in. And the electronic method, which is our biometric voting machine, and then we would swap the test subject, so we can have like the opinion as to whether or not the biometric voting machine is actually more convenient / faster / more efficient or not. So the project timeline, well, a bit behind here. So currently we're in the assembly period. It is projected to finish by the end of last year. Cool. But to be fair, all of this should have been done by this by like last week. We are slightly behind, if you couldn't tell. And here are our reference for our research and development. And that would be the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Yes.
Can your system support the flexibility for the voter who can do the votes everywhere in the country, or is only the initial stage?
I believe it's not for
or your machine can work only with a specific list of people in a certain area.
it only works with
It has to have access to a pre-existing data. So if you would look to the so we have to have the fingerprint database first for the population, the people.
Since we don't have any access to any fingerprint databases, we decided the best way would be to build one ourselves with consent from the users. But if we were able to access a database of fingerprints and this relates them to the person, I believe it could be made to work for everyone. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Next group, please.
Thank you.
How much time left?
โอ้10 นาทีมาก
ใช่
ไม่หมดคุณได้มาเพิ่มนะเปิดไงวะใช้แบบเปิดไงวะไอโอพีใช้ไม่ได้จะใช้ใช่ไหมเปิดโคเมียมอะไรสักเลยเปิดโคเมียมก่อนนะ
ทวีอ่ะแยกทวีมานี้ให้ได้
โ
สองอันเลยมันยังไงมันติดไงติดกับอย่างนี้ก็ได้ไม่ว่าพี่ท่านกูติดไปกันกูเปิดก็ได้กูสัตว์ติดไปแล้วไม่เป็นไรทันละ So our project is the investigating the extent and the speed of droplet transmission of pathogens in a restaurant setting. So we will deep dive into our data with our clear directions. Next slide, please. Sure. Okay. So what does our slide contains? It contains our introduction to our project, our research, the research problems, its objective on why we do this certain project, and research scope, research method, and the result that we have discovered. Also, our further discussion about it and conclusion. Also, we included the preventive measure that could be implemented to this project, and also recommendation for further study if you want to know more about this field of topics, and also our reference. ไม่เขาบอกสองอันต้องติดสองอัน
So first of all, I would like to introduce our study. The purpose of our study is to determine the speed and the potential severity of COVID-19 spread within a restaurant setting. And our aim is so that we do this research so that we can guarantee sanitary measures within restaurants and ensure that future viruses that have similar pathways of transmissions can be kept and not spread as quickly. So the inspiration and the background behind this study results from a Japanese television experiment that occurred. In that experiment, they took participants and put them in a room, and they had the participants one of the participants unknowingly applied with a fluid that glowed in the dark but didn't glow in the light. Then they ordered the participants to go about their eating as normal, and then at the end, they turned off the lights, and then they showed how far the germs has spread. However, one problem with this experiment is that it was not really an experiment. It was just a TV program that was done to show visually how germs can spread. However, no data was collected, and we wanted to quantify this and turn it into a more scientific experiment. In our research, we have three main aims. The first aim is to inform people of how quickly and how far the coronavirus can spread. Secondly, we want to spread awareness to the potential pathways and situations in which the people can become infected. And lastly, we want to provide insight into the measures that restaurants and the customers within those restaurants can take in order to prevent themselves from being infected or lower the risk of transmission. For
So next is the research scope of our experiments. We have the duration of the study starting from around the 1st of July of 2021 until the mid of July in 2023, so about 2 years. And the number of trials, we did 5 trials over a 9-month period. And for the durations of the part, we also have the time for collecting information and also have the time for trial. And the sample size is we have 6 participants per table, and we have used only one person that has the luminous fluid on hand. And the experimentation location, we use the simulated restaurants and use a hot pot style meal with the dimensions table of 90 centimeters times 180 centimeters. Overall budgets that we have utilized are allocated as 9,500.
Did you really pay 9,500 for this?
Yes,
Span of 2 years.
like, accumulated. So the research methods. Method.
So about the methods of the research of this research. First of all, our material preparation. We have to prepare our alum fluid or the luminescence fluid, which is a viscous liquid undetectable in the absence of light, blue light to be exact, and that was used to imitate germs. Next up, we have to set up our experiments, and by that we have recreated a restaurant gathering with a hot pot meal style, which can spread through touch and or shared utensils. And we didn't really tell the participants, other than the 4 of us, about the presence of this fluid. Next up is the experimental procedure. Patient 0, or the random person who gets infected by the alum fluid, the alum fluid is disguised as a hand sanitizer, and then we pick out a random person from that 6 people, and then we apply the alum fluid. And data collection, the alum fluid was uncovered on their clothes and bodies. Traces of it were also found on these surfaces and utensils. And lastly, data was collected and analyzed, focusing on fluid spread surfaces.
So let's take a deeper look at our results and what we have discovered. So this table will illustrate the numbers of alum fluid spots on each surface as an average through 5 tiles. So what we could see here is a number of the different types of surface, hands, shared backwards, tables, clothing, and utensils, and also the number of luminous spots that it has shown throughout the average of 5 tiles. So it was 5.4, 1.8, 7.8, 2.2, and 3.6. And what we have make a hypothesis at the first time, we thought that hands and utensils would contain the most luminous spot, but what we have found is quietly contradicted to that. We have found that tables contain the most luminous spot that have found throughout the 5 tiles, following by hands and also utensils. So let's look at our discussion. So the collected data reveals the possibility of pathogen transmission throughout the participants that we have conducted in our experiment. But what we have found that the alum fluid was transmitted quickly. Like how would a virus may spread across a reservoir simultaneously, and also the droplet transmissions, kinetics. And also we want to emphasize the necessity for preventive measurement in the reservoir to ensure the security of presence and stuff. The shortcoming of our project is the fact that the liquid used can only partially simulate the behavior of true droplet transmitted virus, and also it is a simulation, not a real virus that has been spread. So that was our shortcoming for this, and also the study with real infection also needed to understand the risk and also create more focused preventive measures. So the next will be about the preventive measures that also the factor which contribute to pathogen transmission that can be controlled. So the first is the ventilation and airflows. Different airflows environment could differ in the different types and different results of transmission. So ventilation diffuse and removes contaminated air, reducing pathogen concentration and pathogen transmission. Particle build up increase the risk of infection. So if there is less ventilation and less airflow, there could be less of pathogen transmission. Also, the reservoir level and design, a good design could promote more distance and reduce the droplet of transmission. So if we compare a restaurant with a closed part and have a more space with a restaurant with a more space, there will be different results of droplet transmission. Also, the cleaning and disinfection effectiveness, also the sanitary control of each restaurant will be a vital part on droplet transmission.
So the conclusion of our projects, the observations that we have found is the abundance of near proximity communication, which can lead to how the germs are able to spread, and the skin-to-skin contact was quite common when doing the dining experiments. We can see how people have a skin-to-skin contact, and the upper portion of food and utensils that we have found lots of luminous fluid on the utensils and food during the dining tables, and the luminous fluid was able to spread quite far over only a short period. In about 1 hour, the germs are able to spread. The verdict, in a hot pot style meal, which has only one infected participant who doesn't wash their hands, the diners in the same table will definitely have more risk to get the germs into their body, as the likelihood of people with high is collected as 0.8 people, and the medial likelihood is 1.8 people per experiment.
So these are our recommendations for further study. So in order to build on the knowledge that we've collected, and in order to fill in the gaps of knowledge that we still have, these are some recommendations. So first of all, we should compare the performance of various ventilation systems to see which are more effective in controlling the spread of diseases. Secondly, we should evaluate the influence of food handling protocols. In our experiment, we mostly analyze what's on the table, but we don't analyze what comes before the process of eating, which is the preparation of food, which is an interesting topic that should be further studied. Next, we should be studying the temperature and humidity of the room and how it may affect the droplet transmission. Next, our study is quite short-term, and our trials are very brief. So a longitudinal study involving disease transmission is much needed. Secondly, we should be looking at how we can enhance the layout of a restaurant so that it minimizes crowding and minimizes contact between the employees and the customers. And lastly, we could try using computational models or AI models in order to simulate these trials. These are our preliminary references. And yeah, thank you for listening to our presentation.
From all of what I have seen in your presentation, you didn't think about air ventilation, right?
Yeah, no.
Air circulation
You didn't observe whether there is air conditioner in the closed room or it's open air room or what
we forgot.
It was
But the room that we have is a closed room. It has air conditioning.
the room that we contacted SCI is a closed room.
Closed room with air conditioning.
Air conditioning wasn't
Yeah. It's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Still have enough time for the next group.
ไปเยอะๆเราไปอีกคัทออฟฟิศวะไปให้เราเดโลเซ็นไม่ให้อะไรนะแล้วบำรุงครับเดี๋ยวว่าเกียรติไม่ทันชิวจานต่อห้องเรียนต่อจานใช่ไหมชิวว่าทัน
เฮ้ยเดี๋ยวเขาว่าเอา4 นาทีผมว่าพี่จะไม่ทันหรอกคุณเปิดไฟก็ไม่ทันชิวผมยกไปนู่นเลยครับยกไปห้องยกไปห้องนู้น
เพิ่มเหรอ
เอาไปก่อนแล้วห้องนู้นต่อเดี๋ยวยกห้องยกอะไรไปด้วยให้ผมรับไมค์ไปด้วยครับฮะวิชาอะไร IS เนี่ยเหรอไม่น่าทันนะเดี๋ยวเอาคุณคนเดียวเหรอได้ตั้งกล้องในห้องอะไรก็ได้แล้วก็ส่งมาก็ได้ครับฝากยกอันนี้ไปด้วยนะครับโอ้นี่สายผมสวัสดีครับโอ้โหสวยงามเลยครับระบายสีเลยโอเคได้ครับเปลี่ยนจาก TikTok มาเป็นอันนี้ละ IS ครับ IS against